My name is Nick Rahn, former Air Force Staff Sergeant, and I'm a suicide survivor.
Hello, welcome to the Republican Roundtable. I'm Jacqueline America, your host. City, council, and school board elections are just right around the corner. However, we have a special returning guest for you who has made veterans' health his life mission. Nick Rahn is the founder of Warriors Next Adventures. And so welcome, Nick. Thanks for being here. It's great to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to finally meet you.
Yeah. So you've served both in the Iraq and Afghanistan, and then after you returned home, you worked for the State Patrol. Is that correct? With crisis.
Yeah, I ended up doing 4 tours overseas. We don't count Qatar because that's a very relaxed one. And then I ended up getting out, spent about a year trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then spent 8 years with the Minnesota State Patrol as a dispatcher.
Okay, and then somewhere in there, you came up with the Warriors Next Adventures, and how can you share your story with how that came to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, it starts with a sad story, but kind of what I tell people is take a tragedy and do something good with it. I struggled with mental health ever since I got out of the military. I struggled while I was in the military. Yeah. And I was a typical veteran, and I didn't do anything to try to fix it. Unfortunately, I tried to take my own life back in 2015, and luckily, I'm still here. Yeah. That was kind of my wake-up moment where I realized I need to fix something in myself. So I did the work, and it took me quite a few years to finally get to a point where I felt good about myself. But what I realized during that time that the person who could have saved me didn't exist. So I wanted to create a person that could have done that for me. And so what I ended up doing was realize I didn't live by any principles, so I created what I call the 6 principle process. Didn't start off as 6, it was just kind of a bunch of stuff jumbled around, but I came up with these basic 6 principles, and I started living by them. And it was around 2018, I had a friend of mine who was a veteran that was struggling, and I took him out on a hike, and I gave him the 6 principles. And it's about a 2-hour speech. It's the main thing I do my motivational speaking on now. And over the span of about 6 months, I watched this guy change his life. And so I realized that I think I might have something here. There was a couple things that happened at the State Patrol too that kind of started steering me towards what my true passion is actually going to be. And in 2017, I got a call at the State Patrol. It was a suicide call. And she was standing on a bridge. We pulled her up on camera, and I was watching her while I was talking to her, and I found out that she was a veteran. As we started talking, we started going back and forth with like some military stories, just trying to get some rapport, get her to know like, hey, I'm like you, I'm a veteran too. And it looked like she was about to jump. And so at this point, it had been 2 years, and I'd never told anybody about my suicide attempt. So I told her, I was like, let me tell you something I've never told anybody. 2 years ago, I tried to take my own life, and I've been trying to find out why am I still here. And I told her, maybe this is it. And that was the first time I really had my first idea of like, I need to do more. And then 2019 started the nonprofit, and then shortly after, I believe it was in December of 2019, we started the Warriors Next Adventure crisis line. So it's my personal cell phone number, so it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. But to date, we've stopped 141 suicides on that crisis line.
Fantastic. Yeah, very important work. So,
Love doing it.
So we're going to put up the crisis line
Sure.
on the screen. You'll see it at home. You'll see the crisis line. This is a nonprofit. Do you have fundraisers, or how are you funding that at this time?
Yeah, shameless plug to my Minnesota Credit Union. They actually just gave us a check for $20,000, which blew my mind because they were supposed to give us 5.
Wow, that's great.
So I was very happy with that. We have a golf tournament that a friend of mine puts on every year, and this year he decided to give the money to us, which was great. And then we also have a 5K that we go down to do in Cincinnati, Ohio every year. And they just gave us a check for $7,500 this year. Most of what we raise, though, is just word of mouth. A lot of veterans that we end up helping out end up becoming some of our best fundraisers because they've been directly impacted by the work we do. Fundraising is not really my favorite thing to do, which is probably why we don't make as much. I love doing the work, right? I want to be out there doing the work. And luckily, my mom is a director of community education down in Shakopee. And when she retires, we're officially hiring her as our executive director. So she's going to be in charge of fundraising in the treasury, and hopefully that's when we'll really start to make some waves.
Sure. And then, so it's not just the crisis line though, but you take veterans out for kind of like a high adventure, is that correct? Or?
Yeah, so the main focus of what we do is to get veterans outside of the norm, right? We want to try to mix up their life a little bit, especially if they're in some sort of crisis. So we have a bunch of different programs. I've been training jiu-jitsu for 18 years, and so at the gym that I train at, every Sunday veterans are allowed to come train with us for free. So it's a lot of fun getting
That's
to teach
great.
new guys.
Yeah.
We have dirt track race cars. We have 2 of them. One of them is mine. It's just a little fast. We don't want veterans driving there. It's a little too fast for guys that are unexperienced. But then the Hornet division, that's been one. We've put 16 veterans behind the wheel of a race car for the first time. And then every year we take 10 veterans to Colorado on a 6-day mental wellness retreat where we go over the 6 principle process. And we also make them climb a 14,000-foot mountain. So
oh, wow. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
Good. Yeah. Oh, Colorado's a great state.
Oh, it's
too.
beautiful.
It's really fun. Yeah. Okay. So you do a lot of stuff. You're helping out a lot of people. You had mentioned too that you were helping out other nonprofits as well, or that's kind of a goal that you've been working on?
Yeah, so if people are looking to start a nonprofit, it is a really hard process, right? Especially if you don't know what you're doing. So after I started mine, I used a company to help me get started, and I paid an astronomical amount of money to make sure to get this going. And so once I figured out the process, I had a friend of mine who was actually one of the people who called my crisis line. I helped him find his purpose in fishing. And so he wanted to start what we now call X22 Adventures. And so he was my first nonprofit startup after mine. And once I figured out this is pretty easy, I decided to start helping other people that wanted to start nonprofits. And so I pretty much do all the paperwork with them. I show them step by step, and then I stay on as an advisor for at least about a year just to make sure they're doing everything correctly, making sure they're staying within the ethical boundaries of nonprofit work. And then after that, just kind of let them go on their way. So I've started 41 nonprofits now since 2019.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's a lot of fun.
That's really great.
It's a lot of different ways to impact.
Yeah, you're a busy guy. Talking about fishing, so you're also writing a book, is that correct?
I am.
And your book is regarding an experience, a high adventure you had yourself in 2021 in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, so the book mentions that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
The book is called The Warrior's Path to Inner Peace.
Okay, yeah.
And so the whole focus is utilizing the 6 principle process, right?
Okay. So
how did I come up with these 6 principles?
Yeah.
How did they change my life? And then how you can apply them to your life so you can make changes that you need. And this book can help anyone who's in severe crisis, or if anyone just wants to make a little bit of change in their life. I do mention the ocean row a little bit in there, but I'm actually saving that for hopefully my second book.
Okay.
But that was definitely an experience that changed my life. I guess we should talk about it, right?
Well, what did you want to talk about the 6 principles as well, or
sure, yeah. Yeah, so the 6 principle process, it's, I could tell you the 6 principles, but without the speech and without the detail and in depth, it's kind of hard to really know what to do with them, right? So we focus on a few main things. The biggest issue with most people that are trying to get out of a bad situation mentally usually has to do with the people that they associate with, right? So the first principle is look at who you associate with. Right, the people that are around you, we focus on the black clouds and the shooting stars. Right, so the shooting stars we talk about are the people that are always there for you, the ones that are your cheerleaders when you're not around. And then the black clouds are kind of the ones that kind of drag you back. You ever seen that picture of a guy trying to climb a mountain and there's 3 people pulling him down?
Right.
You got to cut those chains. The second principle is what do you have? Right, it's vague for a reason. In my speech, when I'm doing my motivational speaking, I always like to pose this question to the crowd because I want to gauge where they're at. And most people talk about physical things. I have a house, I have a car. There's no wrong answer here, right? But I want people to dig a little deeper, right? Let's look at what attributes do you have? What skills do you have? Like, are you charismatic? Are you a problem solver? Or do you treat people well? There's a lot of different things that people have that they provide value to the world that a lot of people just don't appreciate about themselves. So I'm trying to get them to dig a little deeper and look inside themselves to see what value do I add to the world. And once you see that you have value, it's a little easier for you to move forward. The third principle is accept your past. Definitely the hardest one. That's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially veterans, right? These 6 principles are not for veterans, it's for everybody. Anyone can utilize these principles to help change, but veterans tend to struggle most with survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt seems to be one of the hardest issues. You lose a friend and you're always wondering, why wasn't it me, right? So the thing that I always ask people is, if you could switch places with them and you could look down and see how you're living your life. Would you be proud? And the answer is no. Then you need to make some changes, right? And that's what these 6 principles are for. Let's find out what are some things that we don't really love about ourselves and how can we change them. And then also, how can we look at some of the good things about ourselves and how can we enhance them? Let's make it a little better. The 4th principle is look forward to a positive future. I am not a Buddhist, right? But I've been dug pretty deeply into Buddhism in 2016. And one of the things I started doing was meditation. Through meditation, it just kind of connected some pieces that I didn't know were missing. And what you can do is you just have a better understanding inside of who you are, right? In order to find out who you want to be, you need to know who you are in this moment, right? And then you can kind of see the things you want to change. So the 4th principle focuses on manifestation, right? How can we manifest a version of ourselves? And like I said at the beginning of the episode, when I tried to kill myself, I realized the person that could have saved me didn't exist. So I wanted to create that person. I manifested the person who I am today back in 2015. And I'm very happy to say I've become that person.
Yay.
I have 141 case studies that show I'm doing something right.
Very good, yeah.
So you have to find out, who do you want to be? What are some things that you can do? And we call it be your own hero. How can we look at ourselves as our own hero? Not now, but 5 years from now. What is that guy doing and how can I become him? Which leads to the 5th principle, is make a list and how to do the work, right? So easy, simple stuff, right? A lot of people tend to struggle with, they just feel down. They just don't feel like they're doing enough, right? And a lot of times we're getting cheap dopamine off of cell phones, right? We're looking at Instagram and Facebook. Guilty, right? But why not do something productive? So what I tell people is make a list, an easy list that you can do for the day. Wake up, brush your teeth, make your bed. Very simple things. What you're doing is during the act of completing those lists, items on that checklist, you're releasing dopamine, right? Dopamine makes you feel good. So why not choose a way that's productive, that's going to help you move forward? And then you have the difficult stuff, right? So the things that are a little bit harder to access, something you can't do in a day, it's something that takes time. You know, like for me, getting a bigger house, making more money so I can help more people. You know, and then I tell people you have to have an impossible goal. So I like to ask this question during my speeches all the time, like, what is your impossible goal? And so it's kind of a conundrum when you say those words together, right? An impossible goal isn't something that is impossible. It's something that I have a burning desire inside that I know I'm going to do, but other people say that's impossible. You can't do that. I was told I couldn't start a nonprofit. Here I am 6 years later, right? I was told I couldn't do this. I do it, right? So I'm very big on doing things that truly make me happy, but are going to get me to that guy 5 years from now. So I'm constantly doing things to grow. And then the 6th principle is the often most forgotten, is love yourself. Right, so it's very difficult for a lot of people who've experienced massive amounts of trauma, or even did a few things that they have, you know, moral injuries from. Obviously, this is very big in the veteran world, is you have some sort of moral injury that just for some reason you just can't get past it. So how do we fix that? You learn how to love yourself again, right? And that's all about positive self-talk, right? How do you speak about yourself? Doing the maintenance, right? Maintenance includes anything, including like therapy, just doing something to do something for yourself. And self-care, right? Self-care is not selfish. You need to focus on yourself. And the way I tell people all the time, my happiness will always be number one, because if I'm not at 100%, how am I going to help others? Right? Obviously, you make sacrifices for your family and stuff like that, but the key focus to that is make sure you're good. Right? Because once you're doing better, you can do better for others.
Those are good principles for everyone.
I think anyone could live by them. And then I'll die on the hill saying that those 6 principles can absolutely help change anyone's life if you apply them. And
I'm sure those principles also helped you survive your trip. Was it just it was a fun trip, or was it a race, or with 3 other friends in the Caribbean?
Yeah, so what you're talking about was it's called the world's toughest row now, right?
Oh,
so it's a race, right? You're racing from the Canary Islands off the coast of Africa to Antigua in the Caribbean.
Oh, wow.
It's a 3,000-mile rowboat race, 100% self-sustained. We had somewhere around 1.4 million calories with us. We had to sustain for at least 70 days. We were on pace to do it in about 45 days. And it was about 16 days in. It was on December 28th in 2022. We were rowing straight west because we had been pushed so far south because there was a storm that was going on. We were in sustained 30, 40-foot waves for about 3 days.
Oh boy.
Sounds crazy, but you kind of get used to it. But what ended up happening was we got blasted by like a 30 to 40-foot wave with a wind gust that was about 50 miles an hour, and it knocked us off the wave. And what ended up happening was, long story short, I ended up getting knocked out, and unfortunately I've had about 16 brain injuries. I don't take care of myself very well when it comes to that. But what ended up happening was I ended up waking up. We all got out. We got into a life raft. But as we were getting into the life raft, I was holding on to the side of the boat inside the raft, because when they cut the raft down, they accidentally cut the rope that connected it. So meanwhile, I held on to that rope for about 45 minutes, and every time I got hit by a wave, it would rip the rope out of my hands. So my hand was cut down to the bone on my finger, all the way down my hand, and so I screamed, right? And right before that, Chad had handed me a knife because he was cutting things off the side of the boat for survival.
And the boat capsized and it wasn't correcting, is that right?
So these boats are supposed to autocorrect, and ours didn't, right? So I think we're one of like 2 that's ever happened to.
Oh, jeez. Lucky you, not at all.
I know, right? But when he handed me the knife, I had it in my mouth. We got hit by a wave, and it ripped the rope out of my hands, and I yelled. And when that happened, the knife punctured the top tube of the life raft.
Oh, no.
And so luckily, I'm a quick think on your feet kind of person. I threw the knife, jammed my thumb in the hole, and I sat there for about 6 hours with my thumb inside that hole to keep it afloat. We eventually found a cork. We still had to pump it up every 30 minutes. And we spent about 18 hours in a life raft 900 miles off the coast of Africa before we were rescued.
And it was in the evening too, so it was...
It happened at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so it was dark.
So we went through a sunset and a sundown in that raft with 4 guys, all of us about 200 pounds, and about a 4-foot by 4-foot life raft. It's very uncomfortable. I don't recommend it. No.
And then, so what ship, or was it a country ship, or?
Yeah, so
shipping.
Kind of crazy story how this all happened. It was the Hans Gothenburg. It's a Dutch shipping vessel that was going from South Africa to Canada. And ironically, they were delayed 12 hours from leaving port. So if they weren't delayed, they wouldn't have rescued us.
Wow.
So they were the only ship within 500 nautical miles. And we found out after the case, about a month later, our emergency beacons all went off, and the U.S. Coast Guard got them. They sent them to Cape Verde. But we found out when we got on that ship that no one was looking for us. So we found about a month and a half later that the U.S. Coast Guard got our alarms. They sent it to Cape Verde. Cape Verde was supposed to send everyone to go rescue us, but they had so many false alarms that night because it was such a bad storm. There was 5 other boats that had capsized and corrected itself, and they set off their alarms, so they checked on them. They assumed ours was a false alarm, and they didn't check on us.
Oof,
so no one was looking for us. It was just fate that boat just happened to hear us on the radio.
It sounds like lots of miracles and that you're meant to be here.
It's
Somebody's
insane.
Looking out for you.
There's actually a really good documentary on PBS right now called Defying Death on the Atlantic. It's a story about our survival, and I definitely recommend everyone go check it out. Sure. It's a tearjerker, though.
I watched part of it, and it's like, holy moly, just the beginning, like, what next could happen?
Yeah, you're sitting on the edge of your seat the whole time because everything that could have went wrong. And then everything went right for us to get rescued. It was just, it's an incredible story.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you, me too.
And thanks for being here. So you're working on some other projects too, as well, with your book, and then it sounds like you're doing some fun stuff in the community, doing some stand-up. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, so last year I opened up a hemp dispensary, and we just got our cannabis license. So the reason for me opening up this place was to fund the nonprofit. I did get my retail, so I will be having 5 stores hopefully soon.
Oh, wow, okay.
But our first store was so big, I decided to build a comedy club. Ironically, when I was on that ocean, I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. I've been writing stand-up comedy since 2020, but I never had the courage to go do it. And so when I was sitting there on that life raft in the middle of the ocean, I decided if I made it back, I was going to start comedy. And about 30 days after we got rescued, I went and tried my first open mic, and now I own a comedy club.
Oh, crazy. Okay, and you're going to have 5 dispensaries and the comedy club. So is that part of the veterans therapies too, or is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, anyone knows that laughter is the best medicine, right? We've all seen Patch Adams, right? And he proved it. I know it's just a movie, but it's a great movie. If you stop and think about it, veterans tend to go through some pretty horrific things. the vast majority of times those things are happening, we're making jokes and we're laughing, right? Definitely inappropriate timing, right? But sometimes laughter is kind of how you get through situations. I can't tell you how many times in the last 15 years when I was struggling, I can't tell you how many times where I had suicidal thoughts and I just didn't want to be here. And instead I went to a comedy club and I went and watched a show. I can't tell you how many times comedy's brought me back, and just the ability to laugh at the situation. I always tell people, if you can laugh at your situation, you win, right? Because you're not letting your situation control you.
Good stress reliever.
So now what we do is we have an open mic every Friday. It's called TWG Comedy. The Warriors Garden is the name of our hemp dispensary. So TWG. It's right in the back of our dispensary too. So it's been pretty amazing. And we've been inviting veterans to come out. We give veterans discounts at all of our comedy shows. We offer 10% discount at our store as well to veterans and first responders. And
Nice.
I think we've had about 15 veterans come to our shows now just to come hang out. And we always hang out afterwards. I tell them about the nonprofit. And we got 2 of them right now that are actually going to be working on some comedy. So I'm pretty excited.
Great. Super. It's up on the stage. Fantastic. Do you have a workshop for that, or
We haven't started the workshop yet. We're waiting until we get a few more people. But eventually what we'd like to do is start doing a veterans comedy workshop. Getting as many veterans together as possible that want to get into comedy. And then from there, considering my extensive background in public speaking with motivational speaking and now stand-up comedy, the hardest thing getting on stage is the communication aspect, the stage presence. That's the hardest part. The writing jokes, it's important, of course, right? Because you got to have good material, but you have to be able to deliver it properly. And so the one thing I'm working with most of these guys right now is the delivery, right? How to be on stage, how to stand, how to act, what to do with your hands, because a lot of people get the Ricky Bobby thing going. They don't know what to do. But it's been pretty fun, and a lot of these guys have said that it's been one of their favorite things they get to do every week.
Okay. And do you perform as well?
I do. I'm not telling any jokes on this episode because it's definitely not good for TV.
Everyone who says, "Tell me a joke," you're like, "Oh, I'm looking at one." No, I'm just kidding. All right. What other things do you see yourself working on in the future?
Well, I mean, the goal for the next few years is, of course, to get the 5 dispensaries up and running, right? Because I'm 100% owner, so I'm looking at a pretty good paycheck over the next few years. But my goal is not to get rich, right? My goal is to raise money so I can help fund these nonprofits. Obviously, Warriors Next Adventure is going to come first because it's very near and dear to my heart. But there's plenty other nonprofits that I see doing amazing things that just don't get the funding. So my goal is to, essentially, Tony Robbins said this once, right? If you want to up your impact, you have to up your income, because if you have more income, the more money you have to give to others. Right. So my goal is to make as much money as I can over the next 15, 20 years so I can give back just as much. We're looking at expanding the nonprofit a little bit once we have the stores running. I can have other people running it for me so I can focus on what I love, is the nonprofit and comedy. But the goal is to hit at least $500,000 a year going to nonprofits.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Let's hope so, right?
So when is the next Warriors Next Adventure? When is that coming up for hiking?
So we actually got a trip that we just booked the Airbnbs for. We found 2 amazing people that host us. This is now our 2nd year going to the same place. So we drive down on a Monday, we stay at a place in Denver, we stay there till Wednesday, and this lady gave us like a $500 discount, which is huge.
Oh, great.
And then we drive up into the mountains on Wednesday, and we stay at this massive mansion, because we have 14 people going this year, and we have beds for all of them.
Okay.
So huge shout out to those guys.
Sure.
But we're going to Colorado. We're actually climbing what's called the Calibron.
Okay.
It's 4 14,000-foot mountains in one day.
14s, yep.
It's
wow.
it's a 7-mile hike. It's only supposed to take about 7 hours because it's not as difficult as it sounds, right? You're not going all the way up and all the way down. There's about a 500 to 800 foot drop between mountains, so it's not that bad. But then what we do is we put these guys through the 6 principle process, and I've taken about 85 veterans up mountains now, and every one of them will tell you it's changed their life.
Oh, very good. Life-changing.
It's one of the best trips, one of the best things we do with the nonprofit, aside from the crisis line, of course.
Do you do anything like that in Minnesota?
We've done a few. We do like to do
Local?
meditation hikes. So
Oh,
we go to
okay.
Stillwater, and that one you don't have to be a veteran to go to. So we posted on our Facebook and our Instagram that, hey, we're doing a meditation hike at this date. We don't have any planned at the moment, but I'm working on it. But what we do is we go for a hike. I teach people how to meditate properly. We give them about 30 minutes, and then we talk about it afterwards. And it usually turns into us just throwing rocks in the river towards the end, because that's fun, right? And then we do have a retreat. There's this place called Charleston Meadows down in Victoria, Minnesota. It's a giant property, and what they do is they rent it out to nonprofits for retreats on the weekends. And it's only $150 Friday
wow,
through
that's a
Sunday.
good
It's
deal.
amazing.
So it's 3 days. in.
So we're doing a 3-day retreat there. We're doing the 6 principles over those few days. We have a bunch of speakers coming in from other veteran nonprofits for resources, and we're hoping that's going to go pretty good. And then, like I said, every Friday we do an open mic. So if any veterans or anyone else wants to come in and talk, I'm there. So
And where is that?
so it's right next to the Saint Stadium.
Okay.
It's 1 block north of the St. Paul Farmers Market off of 6th Street and Wall Street.
Okay.
And open mics are free, so anyone can come in, just hang out, watch some comedy. And then if anyone wants to pull me aside and talk about the nonprofit, I'm always happy to do it.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that your one of your principles is to have an impossible goal.
Mhm.
So what is your next impossible goal? Because my gosh, you've accomplished so much, and it's very inspiring to hear you.
Well, my
So-
impossible goal in 2022 was to row across the ocean, and that didn't quite work out, right?
Okay.
I haven't announced this publicly, but it is to eventually, right now I have 2 of them, right? The first one is to become a millionaire.
Okay.
Right? And that's
Yeah.
with the dispensaries and everything. And it's not to be rich, just so I can help others.
Mm-hmm.
But once that happens, then I do plan on doing the ocean row again, but I'm going to do it
Oh.
solo this time.
Oh my
so
gosh.
it's going to be 100% self-funded. We're going to be representing Warriors Next Adventure, and our goal is to raise as much money as we can during that row.
Wow.
And 100% of the proceeds go directly back into the nonprofit.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
You're trusting the Atlantic Ocean.
I feel like I have a big failure on my record, and I need to try to get that W, right?
Cha.
The biggest thing is, like I said, I'm writing this book, The Warrior's Path to Inner Peace. I always thought, how cool would it be to write a book about someone who had a major catastrophe, but came back and did it again, and just absolutely knocked it out of the park. So that's a
All
sweet
right.
book that I want to write, but I have
Yeah.
to live the experience first, right?
It's going to be an awesome book. It's very cool.
I can't wait to write it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming down and
course.
joining us again. It's lovely to meet you. It's our first time meeting, so like I said, you're a very inspiring guy.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. And then the crisis line, how do people get a hold, or how can they reach to help out with the Warriors' Next Adventure? Or
The best thing is
in
just
your-
to
in
Google
your-
Warriors Next Adventure.
Okay.
There's so much information. You'll get about 3 or 4 Google pages on it. The phone number is right there on our Google Maps.
Okay.
Anyone can call the crisis line. I want to say probably 80% of people who call the crisis line were other people telling them, hey, call this guy. So for everybody who's told a veteran to call me, thank you.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, and then we'll put the, we'll have that up a couple times with the website and the crisis line. So
Perfect.
thank you so much. It's been
course.
just lovely speaking with you.
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to the next time to hear about all your new adventures.
Absolutely.
Great work. Thank you for joining us for the Republican Roundtable, and we'll see you next time.